Morning. God. Guys, boy, OGs though, wow. Do I have an episode for you today? Okay. First of all, if you're watching this visually, you'll see that I am in fact wearing my Tortured Poets merchandise. Yes, that's correct. The anthology probably will be coming. I doubt that it's probably out by the time you listen to this episode. But I would still like to do the anthology, but it might come later down the line just because I've got a feeling it's going to take me a fucking while. Okay? And I do want to do a Billie Eilish one. Once again, not sure if I've already done a Billie Eilish one by the time you're listening to this or not, but I am recording this before the album drops. But anyway, that's not important. I am wearing my Tortured Poets merch, and I fucking love it. I will say, Taylor, you have really upped the ante with this hoodie. Okay, I bought the Midnights hoodie when obviously Midnights came out. Nothing on this. The Midnights hoodie, I'm sorry to say, because I love that album. It was piss. It was piss poor. Okay. This, however, this is cozy. This is thick enough. This is the quality that I look for. Thank you, Miss Taylor Swift. Okay. So this is my new favorite hoodie. With that being said, guys, we've got an episode for you today, right? This is kind of going to be part 2 of the deep chat that we had, God knows when, because I don't know what order I'm going to be posting these. So if you want to know what happened to my puppy and my dog, go watch that. I'm not going to get back into it because I did almost cry. If you've not listened to that one, go for it. Knock yourself out. It's a pretty depressing one, to be honest. But we do talk about Aquaman at the beginning, so I guess there you are. In this episode, however, God almighty, I've been friend-zoned. That's one thing we're going to talk about. Would you guys like a little synopsis at the beginning of the things I'm going to be hitting on, or do we just get in? I guess you can let me know. But before we do get into more deep things, I do like to start these off a bit more light-hearted. Okay? I've got a bunch of little fucking things here that I've been writing down as I've just been living my life. And they make no sense, people. But they're just little things I want to talk about, you know? So first and foremost, I fucking love when people call their mouth a palate. This is something I've realised recently. I want to be one of those hoes that's like, I want to cleanse my palate. You know, I just think that is such a wonderful way of, I don't know, just talking about your gob. I want to cleanse my palate. That's nice and soft on my palate. What? I think that is so delicious, right? There was something else people say as well. Cleanse your palate. What else? There's something else to do with the mouth that I can't remember now. I did think about it also when I was writing this down, but yeah, I think in general, just calling your mouth a palate is just a wonder. And that's what I strive to become. I want to become that posh. You know, that I'm like, I need something to cleanse my palate. Oh! Anyway, drunk middle-aged women. Let's quickly talk about it, okay? Because I don't like drunk people, for the most part. I don't like drunk people that are my age, specifically. Like, in your 20s, fuck off. You're irritating me if you're drunk, actually. If I'm sober and you're drunk, I'm pissed off by your existence. But I think there's something to be said about middle-aged women specifically, not so much men, because they're scary. Middle-aged women who are drunk, I think they're the most harmless and fun things to witness out in the wild, because the other day I was, getting myself a takeaway. So I have to go downstairs to pick up the takeaway. And it was like, I'm pretty sure it was a Saturday. And obviously I live in a city. So on a Saturday, you're going to see some middle-aged people out and about, getting a bit tipsy-de-doo-dah. And boy, did I. It was rife with them outside of my flat block. Rife. And you know what I love about middle-aged women specifically when they're drunk? I feel like they're just so happy, giggly, and they wander around like Bambi on ice. I feel like they're just living their best life, and I think it's such a nice thing to witness. Now, like I said, men not so much. I think middle-aged men that are drunk, they're scary. Right? Beer drunk men after a football game, not cute. It's boisterous. They rule the roost, They make it everybody's problem. Whereas women, they just totter around in their little kitten heels falling around, and I think it's lovely. Continue, please. Continue doing that, Sheila. So there is that, okay? Can we talk about Chapel Rowan? Can we talk about Chapel Rohan? Rohan, right? Can we? Because not to be a local, right? Because I feel like obviously she is having her moment at the moment, right? And it did take me a minute to, give in to the peer pressure and check her out. And boy, I'm glad I did. Okay, because I know that Good Luck Babe is kind of like doing stunning for her, which as it should. Now having listened to the song, Good Luck Babe, stellar track, right? I will say I've listened to one Cranberries song, and that's because it was featured on Charmed, but it reminds me of what I imagine the Cranberries do. Okay, Kate Bush, once again, I've only listened to one of her songs, and that's because it was featured on Stranger Things, but I imagine she's what Kate Bush gives. Right? So if you're into Kate Bush or the Cranberries, knock yourselves out. Now, like I said, I don't really know their discography, so I could be wrong. But I will say, listen to Good Luck Babe, just because obviously everyone's fucking talking about it at the minute. I've heard obviously about her Coachella set and how she did incredibly and all these kind of things. And obviously she opened for Olivia on her tour. Depressed that I'm not at the Olivia tour actually. And do you want to know why I'm not at the Olivia tour? Because I allowed the judgment of people to stop me from getting tickets, because I was worried as like a mid-20s guy, I was worried about the judgment that I may receive for going to an Olivia Rodrigo concert, which is so sad and it's so untrue, right? If I want to go to a concert, I should be able to just go to a concert. I completely agree, right? But momentarily, I let it get to me and I didn't get tickets. And now I'm depressed about it. Okay? I would have loved to have gone and seen Olivia Rodrigo. And I don't know if Chapel Rowan's opening up for her when she does come to the UK. I'm not sure, because I'm not sure what date she comes to the UK. It might be June. I don't know. I might have to see if there's any like resale tickets available, because I would, at this point, I think I might have to start going to concerts on my own, which is a super sad thought, because I do think concerts are best experienced when you're like with a friend, or someone else that really enjoys the music. But the problem I have is, one, I don't have friends, which we've hit on many a time, right? I don't have friends. Although, I'll say this, I have been going to life drawing class. So I am in the process of trying to make friends. Now, I did a hit on this in the first part of this deep chat, but do we get into that now? No, let's finish Chapel Rowan first. Okay, I'm all over the place and I apologise. But Chapel Rowan, she's got me. Okay? I'm pretty sure she's somewhat queer. I'm not sure what, and I don't need to put labels on her, but I'm pretty sure she's somewhat queer. Love that. Not saying that I need my pop stars to be gay. Love, though. Love it. Right? She's so fucking cute. I love Pink Pony Club. I'm going to give you some of my favourites off the album. Pink Pony Club. Red Wine Supernova, Casual. What else? Hot to Go. Oh my God. HOTT, Hot to Go. Love. Fuck yeah, baby. Hot to Go is a banger. Honestly, there's not a bad song on the album, to be honest. There's something about California. There's something about California that is beautiful, that song. And I think it's the vocals on the chorus and the way she sings, "Get me back to California," whatever it is. There's like she has this interesting vocal approach in that part, and I fucking love it. But overall, guys, it's an incredible album. She seems like an incredible artist. I'm very excited to see what she does next. Yeah, I'm just kind of obsessed with her. This is kind of the same thing that happened to me with Renee Rapp. I was hearing everybody talk about her and I was like, I was dragging my feet, actually giving her a chance and delving. And then I delve and then I'm obsessed. The cycle continues. I feel like this is just how it's going to go, because I do think I'm not gonna say that I support TikTok in any way, because I do think TikTok's a stupid app. Sorry to offend. I know there's going to be many of you that love TikTok. It's not for me, okay? But I do think there's something to be said about how TikTok does really help good artists get out there, right? I do think that the one thing I will give to TikTok is most of the time, I will say with many of exception, okay? But I think predominantly, it does tend to highlight really talented singers. Like I know a bunch of people have been listening to DJO now, which I obviously knew about him before, but he's an extremely talented guy. Obviously, it's Joe Keery from Stranger Things. but I know his song did really well on TikTok, and then he got a big thing from that. You know, like they're kind of doing the same thing for Sabrina. They did it for Doja. Like, in general, I think the impact that TikTok does have on music can't be understated, because I will say that app does do well for singers, and I feel like it's doing well for Chapel Rowan right now, and it's completely deserved. She's an incredible artist. If you guys would like me to do a deep dive on, the album, let me know. I know I'm really fucking late, but let me know, because I'd love to do that. Same with Renee. I'd love to do a deep dive on Snow Angel. I might just do that for my own sake, because I love that album. But yeah, all that being said, I'm obsessed with Chapel Rowan. But anyway, moving on, let's properly talk about friends and how I don't have any, and what I'm doing to try and combat this issue, because then we're going to talk about being friend-zoned, okay? See, we've got a bit of correlation here, right? See how I do? So I don't have friends. I've mentioned this many a times. I've got a few friends. But I mentioned in the first half of this, if you've not listened, maybe go listen. I mentioned in the first half that the problem I find is a lot of my friends live all over the country, or even out of the fucking country, right? And what's really nice, and what's an interesting dichotomy that I'm feeling right now, is realistically, I have an abundance of friends online. Doesn't translate in the same way, because obviously I don't see these friends or whatever, or like I consider a lot of you guys that listen to this, you're my friends. We chat often, you know? Maybe that's me like indulging this parasocial relationship, but you know, at some point we've got to do what we've got to do, right? But in general, I don't have an abundance of friends. I have been struggling with it a lot. Like I mentioned in the first half of this, it's very much a case of people in my life making me feel like I should be ashamed of not having plans with many people or not having many friends and stuff. Like, for example, and I don't think he means this in a negative way at all, but it is something that affected me, so I am going to speak about it. My friend Liam, who many of you guys know, obviously he lives in London, has an abundance of friends down there, because obviously his career kind of permits that. Like he's constantly working with new people, meeting new people, and in that way you're able to make friends. Now, the main problem I think I have is my work is not an ideal environment to create friends. Like, it's a very low, and this is not woe is me by any means. Like, I fucking love my job and I'm extremely privileged. Okay, I want to make that very clear. But I think there is something to be said about social media work and how it can be very, very lonely, because for the most part, I don't have to leave my house if I don't want to. Like, I have to choose to go out and do things and, like, go to the gym and see my family and whatnot. And I also think this is why I love seeing my family so much. Like, I go to see my family maybe once every week, or maybe once every week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. Like, I see my family relatively often. And there's two reasons. I think, one, because I don't have an abundance of friends in Leeds. I think it's a way of me getting out the house and seeing people that I know. And I understand, obviously, people, I'm sure, will be saying, well, just make friends. It's very fucking hard in your 20s to make friends. And I'll say this, I've tried making friends a bunch of times, been extremely scorned. Everything always turns weird, because I will say there is a thing with a social media presence. Sometimes people can get weird. And I am a bit funny about, I don't know. I was watching a video from Nicole Raffi recently. I'm not sure if any of you guys watch her, but I love her. She did a video where she kind of hit on a similar thing, not in the same level by any means, but sometimes when obviously, like, I meet people out and about and maybe they've watched videos of mine, it feels like the playing field is kind of unlevel. Does that make sense? Because obviously this is my first time meeting this person, and like, maybe, yes, I want to become friends with this person, but it's always an interesting dynamic, because that person always tends to know more about me than I do about them. So I feel like we're not getting off on the same foot, you know? So I think, like, it's an interesting one, because I as much as I'm sure I could contact a few people online that I follow and like that seem cool and like make friends that way. I would just be worried about that and like certain people's intentions and stuff. I know it might sound a bit ridiculous to you guys, but it is one thing I do have to think about, because at the end of the day, as much as I'd like to have friends, my safety and other things like that, and like people fucking me over and stuff, and I don't know, like it's something you have to think about. So yeah, there is that, and I've tried it in the past with situations like this where I've connected with someone over the internet and then reached out and we've tried to become friends, and things go south very, very quickly. Oh my God. So it's kind of left like a sour taste in my mouth. So for a while, I've kind of just been like content with being quote unquote lonely, and I've not really felt ashamed or like I need friends. But my friend Liam, obviously, like I said, he lives in London, so I don't get to see him very often, and he's probably my closest friend, has mentioned several times over the past few months or few weeks, whatever, that he's eager for me to make new friends. And part of me does think like, now I know, because he says this to me, that he's only saying this so then, like, for my benefit, so like I'm not as lonely. But I think it's difficult sometimes for me to hear this stuff and it not feel like he's trying to make me make new friends. So then, I don't know, this is like the negative side of my brain working here. This is kind of like the inner dialogue that I have going. Like, I worry that he's saying this so then he's not feeling as lumbered with me, or like, I don't know, but like, there's no reason for me to be thinking that, because we still speak often. Like there's realistically nothing wrong with our friendship, but that's just kind of like the negative self-talk that goes on in my brain, like the dialogue that runs in my brain. So I've been trying to not see it that way, because I don't know if it is that. There's basically a event coming up that me and Liam were meant to go together, and there's been certain things that have kind of happened where, like, essentially now, if I went to this event with him, I would be around his full friendship group, who, one, I don't know. The event is something very new to me that I've never really done. So I'd already be a little bit uncomfy, and being around people who I don't know, and obviously like Liam's really comfortable with them. I don't know. It just kind of stresses me out, and I think I imagine I'm probably socially awkward, and I have social anxiety for sure. So yeah, that was kind of like the catalyst for this, and I think that's maybe why he was like, or maybe he's like so gung ho for me finding my own friendship group, so I have other friends to do things with. Like for example, going to concerts. Like, Liam's not very big on the music that I like, so often if I want to go and I want to go with him, generally I have to pay for him to come, because why would he come otherwise? He wouldn't. So yeah, which is totally fair. So I think it's that, and I think that's why he mentions it a lot. But obviously, with the way my brain's been over the past couple of months, I found it very difficult to not see this in like a negative way and it to get me down, which it had been getting me down a bunch. So that was partially my mental state. So there was one evening where I was like fully spiraling about this, because at the same time, obviously, like I mentioned in the last part to this, I have been trying to obviously speak to people and go on dates and stuff, but it's always an interesting one when this person has a bunch of friends, went to a normal uni, sees his friends often, and then he's always like, well, what plans have you got? And it's like, I'm almost embarrassed to be like, I don't really have that many plans, That's been something else that I've been struggling a fuck ton with, which is kind of shitty. But yeah. So all in all, that being said, the evening that I was kind of spiraling about this, I could feel myself just going to places I don't want to go mentally. So instead of letting that happen, I got on my phone and I started Googling and searching for classes that I could go to maybe not even meet people, because I don't necessarily need like this club and like these people that I meet at this club. I don't need it to translate into, like friendships outside of this club, but I just need something for me to go and do something that's not work, that's not seeing my family, being around like-minded people, and I think that would just benefit me, even if that's all it is. just somewhere for me to go to see different people and just to do something for myself, you know? So obviously I did sign up for life drawing class. At this point, I've only been 1 week, but the day that I'm recording this, I am going again. So there is that. The first week I went though, guys, I fucking loved it. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not for everybody. But if you know me and you know what I draw and like my art style and stuff, I love drawing nudes anyway. Like I love life drawing, but I've never actually been to a life drawing class. So I was super excited. And I think the main thing that I loved about it, obviously being in a community with people that also enjoy art and we can talk about art things and whatever. And the people were really lovely and I got along with a lot of them. About the life drawing itself and like being in a room with someone who obviously is naked, but the whole point of the class is to obviously find the beauty in the naked body and reflect that in whatever media you want to use. It almost demystifies the whole taboo surrounding the naked body, which is something that I've never really understood anyway. Like in general, I find the art and the beauty in the naked body before I see it as like something innately sexual, which is something I think I've spoken about before when it comes to like my social media presence on, say, Instagram, and how jarring it can be for people to not see the naked body that way or see you posting something a little bit more revealing, and ultimately that means you're a sluzzer and you're doing it for attention and it's ultimately sexual, whereas that's just not the way my mind works. So it was really fun and really fucking relaxing, to be honest, to be in a space where everybody kind of saw it the same way. Like no one was here looking at this naked person modeling in any sort of sexual manner. Like it was so fun and wholesome, and that's just what I needed. Like they're the vibes that I've needed. So I'm really excited to go again, and like I said, I'm going today when I'm recording this. So I'll have to update you on like moving forward how it goes. But yeah, I'm hoping this is going to be a regular thing. Like I'm not sure if I'll go every week because they do like three of these classes a week. But even if it's just like something that I go to every so often, I think that would be really good for me. So yeah. Overall, that's kind of like how I'm managing the loneliness. And also, I just don't think I'm going to let these things get me down, because for the longest time, like I didn't care about not having that many friends, because I feel like a lot of times what comes with friends and trying to make friends is drama. And like, as much as I'd love a friendship group of like gay people, that's I feel like kind of unattainable at this point in time. I feel like it's very difficult to have a gay friendship group where things don't turn either stupidly dramatic or people have attraction to one another or unwarranted attraction and all this kind of thing. It's always a bit murky, and I hear so much about like the drama that goes on within like these gay friendship groups, and it might look all fucking sunshine and roses on social media, but the amount of bullshit that happens in these groups, like I ain't got the time for that. I ain't got the energy for that. And it just seems a lot more effort than it's worth. So I'd much rather stick to what I'm doing and live just a fucking normal, stress-free, drama-free life. And if that makes me lonely and a loner, then I guess so be it. But at the same time, I am actively making steps to hopefully at least find myself in new places and put myself out there a lot, because I do think I have major issues with doing new things and meeting new people. Like I said, I think I'm very socially anxious. I don't know why. I don't know where this stemmed from, because I never really used to be like this. But yeah, I find it to put myself in a new position is very stressful for me. So I was even just proud of myself for going last week to the life drawing class, and even more of a positive that I really enjoyed it. So yeah, there is that. That's kind of where I'm at with friends. I know a bunch of people are probably feeling the same way, and I'm sorry if this is insensitive and like kind of makes you feel worse, because I know that I watched something the other day where someone was kind of expressing that they felt lonely and whatever, and it didn't help me in any way. It kind of made me confront my own loneliness again, which I feel like when it comes to loneliness, I think it's something that we try to stay away from, I feel. And I feel like when you feel lonely, like it's very easy to try and not confront it because it doesn't feel very good. to confront that you're feeling lonely and whatever. So yeah, it's just an interesting one. So that's one thing that I've been going through. But ultimately, that being said, I'm doing so much better now. Like, I'm actively going to the gym a lot more, and I'm taking that much more serious, and I'm bettering myself. Like I said, I'm going to this life drawing class. It's a gradual thing. It's not going to happen over time. It's not going to happen straight away. But yeah, I don't really have a point of that story, but I just thought that's something that I wanted to mention. And then I guess the last thing we're probably going to talk about is the fact that I've been fucking friend-zoned, or quote-unquote friend-zoned. Now, you guys all know I went on a date that I spoke about on this podcast, okay? This was 2 months ago at this point, maybe longer than that, actually. Went on the date. The date was good. I spoke about that in an episode. The date was great. Had a great time. I'd known of this boy for a very long time, and we'd spoken last year at some point in more of like a get-to-know-you dating sort of way, right? The reason why I'm mentioning this is because that's going to become important. Obviously, went on this date in March. We're now in May, right? Over the past couple of weeks, I'd kind of started getting the sense that, like, it was kind of fading out. I wasn't putting as much effort in. He wasn't also. It was one of those things. But the last time I spoke about this with you guys, I obviously mentioned that the way we left it off with the date was that I had said to this person, I'm happy to come down to you because he lives a little bit further away. I'm happy to come down to you. I'm happy to get a hotel. You've just got to let me know when, and I'll be there, right? Which I think is a wonderful thing. I couldn't have done anything more, you know? So ultimately, the ball was in this person's court to let me know when. And obviously, I'm sure you can imagine, that never fucking happened, okay? Long story short, probably about a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago at this point, I basically texted this person because it was the conversation was bare fucking minimum, and like I could tell that we both just weren't really bothered anymore. So I texted this person and was just like, look, should we just give this up as a bad job? Like, I don't think you're very interested, and low-key, neither am I. So I was like, you know what, should we just give it up as a bad job? We tried, it is what it is, it's not going to happen, right? To which essentially he replied and was like, it's not that I'm not interested, but then proceeded to give me a bunch of reasons why, ultimately, yes, it's not going to work. Funnily enough, all of these reasons were the reason why he pied me last year, which is the main thing I'm pissed off about. So I'm not really bothered about the fact that he technically friend-zoned me because he was like, I think it's just turned into more of a friend thing. First of all, I did reply to this and I was just like, I think it's kind of inevitable that it's going to turn into a friend thing if we've not seen each other since, you know, our first date, which was 2 months ago at this point. I think it's pretty inevitable that we're going to turn into just friends if that's going to be the case, because there's only so much you can fucking talk about over text, you know? And the thing about this boy is he was very much like, he wanted to speak every day, which used to be my shit. Like back in uni, I used to love that. I used to be that same way. Not so much. And we had this little thing where like the conversation kind of like gradually came to an end one day when I was kind of, you know, going through my deep ass depression and I was at my mum's dog sitting and all that kind of thing. And like my brain was just all over the place. The conversation kind of gradually came to an end and I'm pretty sure I was editing. And long story short, I hadn't responded or I didn't like reach back out for like 2 days, which I didn't think was a huge deal. Because then the 2 days, I guess, passed, which I didn't even realize it was 2 days, but I guess it was. The 2 days passed, and then I like responded to a story in like a fun way, and like this guy was pissed that I'd not spoken for 2 days. Which struck a little chord in me. So I was like, that's a bit interesting. And up to now, there was a few instances where things had kind of gone down, and he was very much I don't want to be mean, so I'm going to try and not be mean, but he was very much a glass half empty kind of person, and he was going through his own struggles, and I think, as much as I'm obviously not going to judge anybody for that, I think when I'm someone who's actively going through shit also, it's very easy for my brain to go there, and I feel like whenever I'm speaking to someone and trying to get to know someone, and a lot of times, like, whenever I ask them how their day is or how certain things that they're going through in their life are going on, it's always negative and everything's a problem, and it was never like positive in that sense. Like, it just wasn't serving me very well up here. So that was another thing where I was just like, that's a pretty big red flag to me, to be honest. So yeah, all in all these things kind of happened, and I was just like, yeah, this is just not going to work. Like, I just didn't see it. I didn't see the trajectory of it going somewhat romantic at all, and I feel like he almost liked the idea of speaking to me more than maybe he did actually want a relationship, because, like I said, we spoke like a year ago, and the reasons why he pied me a year ago was, one, he'd just come out of a really serious relationship, which valid, totally valid, okay? But on top of that, it was very much like, you live really far away, you don't drive, I don't want to always have to drive up to come and see you, like I want it to be like a two-way thing. And obviously I was once again still like, well, I'm happy to get trains, like fucking public transport exists, bitch. So, but all in all, that they were the reasons why he pied me last year. Funnily enough, past obviously like him thinking that it had turned into a friend thing, which ultimately, like I said, it was going to happen because you dragged your feet and didn't fucking tell me when I could come meet you. So that's going to happen. So past that, those same issues arose again. He was like, I think I just underestimated how far you actually are. You don't drive, all these kind of things. And I was like, the main thing that's pissed me off here is not that we've stopped talking or we're not pursuing anything, because I couldn't give a fuck. The main thing that's pissed me off is I feel like I've now wasted my time, right? Which I know is a negative way of looking at it. And I suppose these things happen. You've got to get to know people. You've got to give people a chance to find out. But having someone give a bunch of reasons why, once again, they don't see anything happening, and most of those reasons being reasons that they gave you before, and those circumstances not having changed, like, he knew where I lived last year when he started speaking to me again. You know, he knew that I didn't drive last year, and he knew that those circumstances hadn't changed when he started talking to me again this year. So it's just like, I feel a bit like he started speaking to me and pursuing me more seriously because he had no other options. Because I know from what he'd told me that he'd been on and off on dates anyway since we'd last spoken, and he'd been through a bunch of shit in his friendship group, back to the friendship group thing, a bunch of shit in his friendship group, and basically like was losing a bunch of friends essentially. So I very much see what was going on as maybe he just wanted someone to speak to, and he knew that I'm a nice enough person to chat, you know, and that I was fond of him. So yeah, I just see that that's where that kind of went. And now I'm looking back, I'm like, I think I was more just convenient to be there for him to get to know. And I maybe should have seen that maybe it wasn't going to end up being anything romantic. But you know what? Men tend to disappoint, you know? But all that to say, I'm not really, like I said, not really bothered that it didn't end up being any sort of romantic relationship, because I don't think our personalities were necessarily compatible in that way. I think what I enjoyed was that he understood my job, he understood my social media presence, it didn't find it weird, and like we had like certain interests that were like kind of compatible, but I think past that, I don't think there was much there. So as much as I'm kind of disappointed in the fact that I've kind of wasted my time and wasted months of my life chatting to someone who ultimately was always going to pie me the same fucking way, it's kind of what needed to happen. And I think this, realistically, I'm the one that initiated it, you know? Like, I imagine if I'd not have messaged that, I imagine we probably would have continued just chatting very bog standardly over the next couple of months or whatever. And he would have used me still as someone to vent to about his friendship group and stuff, which he did in abundance. And I'm always there for advice, you see. I'm a gullible little bastard like that. But yeah, not to get bitter, but that was kind of where that ended. But I will say, not to like steer this in a different direction, but I am actually I'm getting to know somebody else who I don't know, I feel much more positively about, and he's very much on my same wavelength of where my personality. I think our personalities match a lot, and I can tell that he cares a lot. And like, I don't know, I just feel like I feel like he actually likes me, you know? Like, there wasn't much with this other guy in terms of, like, complimentariness or flirtatiousness. Like, there was not much of that, which I guess is fine. Like, I don't need someone to be, like, complimenting me a fuckton or whatever, but obviously, like, when you're getting to know someone, like, you'd like to think that they find you attractive, you know? Overall, that's how that one went. But I'm not, guys, I'm not putting my eggs in no baskets, you know? I feel like in general, I need to continue to go into these little things kind of pessimistically so I'm not disappointed. I just think in general, people are so fucking annoying when it comes to relationships and trying to get to know each other. And like, I spoke to Liam about it and he was like, yeah, I think a lot of people find it very difficult to just say what they're thinking when it comes to like getting to know each other in relationships. And I think that's one thing I don't struggle with. I do pride myself on just being able to tell people the fucking truth. Yes, I obviously see the red flags and I notice them, and I'm also like kind of seeing if anything changes or whether this is like kind of just, it comes down to this person going through a hard time, you know? Like, rather than me bidding it off straight away as soon as I see a red flag, I do definitely think that I'm the kind of person that will give a person the benefit of the doubt, because realistically, I know that I'm not a fucking hoot all the time. Like, we all go through our shit, you know? So as much as obviously I saw the red flags, I didn't want to just bin it off straight away. I wanted to kind of like see it through and see if anything changed, and I don't know, just kind of give someone the benefit of the doubt. And then, yeah, it didn't work out, and that's fine. I'm fine. You know, it is what it is. But who knows? We shall just see. Life's just hard, man. And trying to find romantic or platonic connections, I think, is very hard these days. And I know this is not a new thing by any means. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse because I've mentioned this, I think, many a times in other episodes. But yeah, I felt the need to maybe bring you guys in on the shit, because I spoke about the date on here, you know? I'm not sure if I'll speak about any dates and stuff moving forward, because I just don't think that's what I want this to turn into, you know? But who knows? We'll see. What else did I have written down? Because there's quite a few things here. None that correlate to anything I've mentioned already, but yeah. Oh, actually, one last thing, I do want to talk about is this why would I care effect. Now, guys, like I said, this does not correlate to anything I've mentioned already. It doesn't. Right, this is just a random thing that I've been seeing a lot. Basically, I've been experiencing this in like my comment section and stuff, and I also see it elsewhere too, where like if something is not to someone's taste, or like they don't like, it's a piece of content that I upload that people aren't interested in, there's always this kind of like, why would I care effect that kind of happens. And I know people have like spoken about this before in like TikToks and stuff, and like how someone can post like a recipe for something and it's like people in the comments being like, but what if I don't like any of these ingredients? What can I do instead? And it's just like, well, just don't watch this one then. You know, that's kind of the thing that I'm getting at here. But it's like, for example, on my second channel, which if you're on YouTube, you're watching it on the second channel, hello. Obviously, I post an abundance of different content over here, from, you know, underwear hauls to God knows what else, right? But what I've been finding is certain people will comment on, say, like the reviews of things, like these hauls, and like there's one in particular that I can think about, where it's someone that's like, I'm straight, I don't care for this kind of content, where's the gameplays? And I'm just like, I don't understand why people can't just see something's not for them and just not click on it. It's a very odd thing that I've been finding a lot, especially with the second channel. I think with the main channel, obviously, it's all kind of reaction stuff, so it's one of those things. You're going to get a variety. But I think with the second channel, there's been an abundance of people commenting on different styles of videos and being like, well, where's this? I didn't subscribe to this channel for this. I subscribed for this. But the whole point of the second channel is that I can do whatever I feel like, you know? And if something's not for you, it's fine. You can just not click on it. Like, you have that option. Like, I would never imagine clicking on a video that I have literally no interest in, and I would never think to comment on it being like, I'm straight, I'm not gay, I don't care about your underwear, where's the gameplay? Like, that is so buck fucking wild. If you see that I've uploaded a fucking review of something, don't click on it if you don't want to see what the review is of. You know, if you only care for gameplays, click on the gameplays when they come. Ugh, it's so weird. But honestly, I'm consistently surprised by the internet, but I shouldn't be. Because I just think like the more and more I expand my horizons and the more and more I do different things and whatever, I feel like there's always something else that kind of happens alongside me trying something new. You know? It's so weird to me. It will just never, it will never make sense how do you know what I think it is? And I think I put it down to this. I think it's because people are so used to everything from like Spotify and like their music and their TikTok For You page and their Instagram and whatever, and everything being catered to them and what they're interested in. And I think a lot of people find it difficult with YouTube because not always on YouTube are you going to get things recommended to you that you're interested in, or channels that you subscribe to, they're always going to do everything that you're interested in, you know? And I think YouTube is a difficult one because there isn't that. So I think people find it difficult to understand that not everything on YouTube is going to be catered to them as much as it, say, it, for example, is on TikTok. Because I know that people's For You pages can be very much catered to like their interests and stuff. So I imagine that's what it is. Like people are just so used to like a personalized experience online. But it's so annoying. Just leave me alone, you know? Let me try on my underwear and I'll be back with the gameplay in a couple of days. It's just all fun and games, man. It's all fun. And I think in general, people take the internet a bit too seriously, I think. Especially when it comes with like, and I mean, we'll talk about it. I think being like a reaction YouTuber, I think people find it very difficult to differentiate between my thoughts on, you know, works of fiction and also my thoughts on life. And so often I get some fucking wild comments about something that I've said and how people then read into that little thing that I've said about a certain, you know, fictional character and somehow translate that into real life in a hugely negative way. And that's another thing that it can never be underestimated, because the lengths that people will go to, I think, in general on the internet to make you appear like a bad person is wild. And I think for a while it affected me a lot. Like I struggled with it. And I think the more and more it happens, I'm just like, oh my God, go outside and touch some grass, please. Like, fair enough. In certain things, like, for example, these podcasts, like, if I say something hurtful unintentionally, like, I think because I'm coming from more of a real standpoint and talking about my life more on here, I think it makes more sense. But I think when it comes to things like fictional things and talking about fictional characters, sometimes it's just not that deep. You know, and like I understand obviously like when people tune into reactions and stuff, it's because they love whatever I'm reacting to. But I think with that comes like you cannot have any sort of fun, or you can't. It's got to be an overall totally positive experience. Like you can't have any negatives to say about it. And it's one thing that I used to try and like tiptoe around and appease and whatever, and like. I used to try and not ruffle some feathers, and then whenever I did ruffle feathers unintentionally, like it really got to me. But now I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to have my opinion, and at the end of the day, you asked for me to react to it. If you don't like it, I am so sorry. I'm never going to go out of my way to make something so negative, because I don't agree with that. And there's some reactors that I used to watch and don't anymore that everything was always just very negative, and I will never turn into that. I would never become someone who's just going to never be able to find anything remotely good about anything. Because I really do believe, like, as much as obviously, like, I have a certain taste in terms of what I watch and what I consume, I can always find something positive or something to enjoy out of anything, you know? And I do think sometimes reactors can do the opposite of that. And I think that there is a certain way of having your opinion on something, but then there's also bashing something. And I will never try and do that. And if I do, obviously I would apologize for that. But I think, I don't know, it's just an interesting one. Like, I can't imagine going out of my way to create a video for someone who I don't like, or a movie or TV show that I know I won't like, just to then bash it and then upload it. Like, I can't imagine that, because I just think you're opening yourself up to nothing but negativity at that point. You know, there's certain shows and movies that obviously people ask me to watch, but I know that I won't enjoy, and that no one would find enjoyment in me watching it, because I know that I'm not going to have much good to say, or I'm going to find it hard to find positive things to say about it, because it's just not my thing. You know, so I'd rather not make those videos, because I also believe if someone enjoys it, then I want them to enjoy that. I don't want me dragging it and me having my opinion on it to take away from their enjoyment of it, because obviously, like, if they enjoy it, then it's their thing, you know. And if it's not my thing, I know my place. I know what to do and what not to do. You know, don't know how we got onto that there, but there you go. I think that's going to be this episode. Okay, another deep one in the bag. But you know what? Life does fuck us over sometimes. And I've felt very fucked over quite a bit over the last maybe month, 2 months. Both mentally and other people and all the things. But I'm doing very well at the minute. I'm actually doing really super fucking well. But I think it's just a process. I think life in general is a process, and it's hard to always be on the up. And I think as much as you can say to yourself, because I went through a really hard time in like October and September last year, which I've mentioned before in an episode, I think I said to myself, I'm never going to allow myself to get that way. And I think that's quite an unreasonable thing to say, because realistically, outside forces that you can't even foresee, it fucks you over. You know, you can't always have control over everything. Things just happen sometimes. And I think I'm at the point where I'm going to have to try I'm actively going to try and get better at handling that, and just allowing things to happen and not taking it so seriously, and really try not internalize it too much, because it's so unhealthy. But anyway, I'm going to stop now, because I could keep yabbering on about deep things. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. I will see you next week with another one. Goodbye. I just kissed before whatever. Bye.